Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to draft and sew this beautiful high-waisted shirt step by step. I will explain the pattern making process and how to achieve a neat and stylish finish. If you love sewing and pattern crafting, stay tuned and let's get started. For this tutorial, I'll be using 1.5 yards of Mikado fabric, the zipper and also the thread. Get your material ready and let's get started. From the top of the paper, I'm going to roll out a straight line which is going to serve as my starting point and also the waistline. So I'm going to raise my tape up by 1.5 inches, that's the weight of the band. You can decide to make yours 2 inches or 2.5 inches. It depends on how wide you want your waistbands to be. So for mine, I'll be using 1.5 inches. After that, I'm going to mark the distance between the waist to the hip line, which is 9 inches. And then I'm going to mark the length of the crouch, which is 10.5 inches. So I'll be extra 1.5 inches to it because this is not a fitted shirt, making it 12 inches that I mark for the length of the crouch. And I'll be using 17 inches for the length of the shirt, and I had extra 4 inches for the hem allowance, which make everything 21 inches. So after that, I'm going to roll out the line. And I'm going to label the line, the waistline, the hip line, the crouch line, the short length and also the hem allowance. So from the side of the paper, I'm going to come in by 1 inch, which is for the stitches allowance, and every measurement I'm going to take is going to start from that 1 inch that I come in from the side. So after I'm just connecting it together, I'll now start taking out my measurement. On the hip line, I'm going to divide my hip circumference by 4. My hip is 42 divided by 4, which is 10.5 inches. So I'm adding extra 1 inches to making it 11.5 inches that I'm going to mark on the hip line. After I'm done marking it, I'm going to take it down to the couch line and also mark that 11.5 inches. I'm also going to take that 11.5 inches to the waistline, but before I mark it, I'm also going to come in by 1 inches like what we did for the rest for the stitches allowance. So after that, I will now start marking that 11.5 inches. I'm doing this to get a straight line. So after I'm done marking it, I'm going to connect the 3 points together. So guys, after I'm done connecting the points together, on the waistline, I'm going to divide my waist circumferences by 4. My waist is 32 divided by 4, which is 8 inches. After I'm done marking it, I will now retake in my stitches allowance, which is 1 inches before I connect it to the hip line. So on the crouch line, I'll be using my thigh measurements. My thigh circumferences is 25. So I'm adding extra 3 inches for the waist. So if I plus this together, I'm going to get 28. So that 28 I'm going to divide it by 2, which is going to give me 40 inches. So I'm going to mark that 40 inches on the crouch line before I curve out my crouch curve. So after I'm done curving out the crouch curve, I'm going to take that 40 inches down to the hem of the shirt and mark it before I connect it together. After I'm done connecting it together, on the waistline on the crouch curve, I'm going to come down by 1 inch and blend it to the side. So guys, that is it for the front pattern. I'm going to add the stitch allowance to the rest before I start cutting out the pattern. So guys, after I'm done cutting out the pattern, I'm going to label it. So the next thing to do now is to draft out the pattern for the back. On another paper, I'm going to place my front pattern on top of it and use a pin to hold it together. So after that, I'm going to roll out a straight line for the waistline because on the front pattern on the crouch curve, we come down by 1 inch before we blend it to the side. So we are not going to do that. So that reason why I follow what I have on the front side pattern and I roll it out straight. So from the side of the front pattern, I'm going to come out by 2.5 inches. So if you're small sizes, you can use 2 inches, and if you're bigger size, you can use 2.5 inches to 3 inches. This make the back of your shirt or your pants sit perfect way on the body. So from that 2.5 inches that I come out, I'm going to start taking out my back waist measurement from there. I'm first of all going to mark in my stitches allowance, which is 1 inch. So after that, I'm going to mark quarter of my waist measurement, which is 32 divided by 4, which is 8 inches. So after I'm done marking it, I'm going to connect it to the hip line. So after I'm not connecting it together, the next thing I'm going to do now is to break out my crouch line. So after that, I'm going to divide my hip circumferences by 16. My hip is 42 divided by 16, so I have 2.6. So I'm going to extend my crouch line out by 2.6 for the back crouch extension. So after that, I'm going to add half inches for the stitches allowance, before I use my cuff roller to connect it together to the waist. Just look at the way I place my cuff roller. So after you're done connecting it together, this is what it's going to look like. So the next thing I'm doing now is to take that 2.6, take it down to the hem of the shirt. After I'm not connecting it together, I'm also going to add half inch for the stitches allowance to the crash curve for the back. After I'm done with that, the next thing to do now is to extend the crash curve for the back pattern on the waistline. Just extend it up by 1 inches. I don't use more than 1 inches, but this totally depends on what work for you. So 1 inches is what work for me. So after I'm done marking it, I'm going to connect it to the side on the waistline and also add my stitches allowance on the waist. So guys, that is it for the back pattern. So I'm going to label the pattern now before I start cutting it out. So guys, after I'm not cutting out the pattern, I'm going to place the front on top of the back to make sure that both sides are equal and also the inseam length. So the next thing to do now is to transfer the pattern to the fabric. So I'm going to fold my fabric into two before I place the pattern on top of it and start cutting it out. And we don't need to add any stitches allowance to the fabric because we already have stitches allowance to the pattern. So guys, after I'm not cutting it out, this is what it's looking like. So the next thing to do now is to cut a piece for the zipper fly. So the 4 pieces I'm going to cut is the fly shade, which is going to be on fold. I'll be using 10 inches for the length and 2.5 inches for the width. And the second one is going to be the fly extension, which is going to be single. So I'm going to cut exactly what I have on the first pieces. And I'm going to cut the single pieces like you see me doing. So that is it for the zipper fly. So what's remaining now is to cut out the pieces for the pockets. So for the pockets, I folded my fabric into 4 like you see me doing, and I cut it out in the middle. For the width, I'll be using 7 inches and the length is going to be 12 inches. And that is it for the pocket. And this is everything that we have cut. We cut our front and back shorts, and this is the pocket. We have 2 pieces for it. And also the fly shade and fly extension. Let's move to the sewing parts. So I'll be starting with the front by fixing the pocket. So I'm going to remove the pattern from the front fabric and mark 7 inches from the waistline on the side, and that 7 inches is for pocket opening. So after that, I'm going to mark out my stitches allowance, which is 1 inches. So after I'm done marking it on both sides, I'm going to place the pieces that I cut for the pocket on top of it like you see me doing. So after I'm done placing it, I'm going to follow that 1 inch that I mark on the side to stitch it together. So I'm going to do the same thing to the second side. So after I'm done stitching it together, I went ahead, I also top stitched on the pocket. After that, I'm going to notch this place. So we are going to arrange the pocket inside like you see me doing, and make sure that 1 inch is come out of the other side of the pocket. So that 1 inch that will bring out is for the stitches allowance. So after I'm done arranging it, I'm going to fold in the bottom of the pocket like you see me doing and stitch it together and turn it in. So after I'm done with it, I also went ahead, I did the same thing to the second side, and this is what it's looking like after I'm done with it. So the next thing to do now is to fix the zipper fly. So I'm going to place the front on top of each other, make sure that the right side of it is facing each other. So from waistline, I'm going to mark 8 inches. So from that 8 inches that I mark, I'm going to use half inches to stitch down the remaining parts. So after I'm done stitching it, I'm going to notch this part here. On this one side of the front crouch end, the right side of the zipper is going to face the right side of the fabric, and make sure that when you are stitching it, you stitch closer toward the end of the fabric. Your stitches will not be up to half inches. After that, I'm going to place my fly shade on top of it and also stitch it, and after I'm done stitching it, this is what it's going to look like. After that, the next thing to do now is to fix the fly extension to the other side. So I'm going to place the fly extension on top of it. Make sure the right side of it is facing each other. So I'm going to use half inches to stitch it together. After that, I went ahead, I top stitched on top of fly extension. So the next thing to do now is to arrange it very well and then use the pin to pin it to the zipper, like you see me doing. I have the full tutorial on how to fix your fly zipper on my YouTube page, which I explain more better. So if you don't understand this one, you can check it out. So after I'm done pinning it together, I'm going to open the zipper, and this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to soak it to the machine now to stitch it. So guys, after I'm done stitching it, this is what it's looking like. So the next thing I'm doing now is to stitch down the fly extension. So I'm going to arrange it very well so that I will not go and make the mistake and stitch it together with the fly shade. After that, I'm going to mark on top of the fabric like you see me doing, and then took to the machine to stitch it down. And after I'm done with it, this is what it's going to look like. So the next thing I'm doing now is to join the back crouch together. So I'm going to remove my paper on top and then pin it on the crouch line and took it to the machine to stitch it together. And after I'm done stitching it together, I'm going to remove my pin, and this is what it's going to look like. So the next thing to do now is to join the front and back together, and I'll be joining it using 1 inch that we added for the stitches allowance. So after I'm done stitching it together, this is what it's looking like. And after that, I'm also going to join the inseam leg together. And after I'm done with it, this is what it's going to look like. So the next thing I'm doing now is to fix the band. So to do that, I'm going to measure what I have on the waistline. So I went ahead, I cut a fabric about 5 inches width. I interfaced the fabric and I folded it into two. So I folded one part of it using half inches for the stitches allowance inside. And for the length, I have 38 inches. So I'm going to cut out the excess when I'm fixing the band. And I'm going to cut out the excess on the zipper. So after that, I'll start fixing the band. So the right side of the band is going to face toward the wrong side of the fabric. And make sure that you leave about half inches out to turn in the tip of the band before you start pinning it to the waist. And after I'm done pinning it, I'm going to leave half inches out and cut out the remaining excess. So I'm going to take it to the machine now to stitch it. So after I'm done stitching it, I also went ahead, I stitched the tip of the band. So I'm going to trim out the excess then and then turn it inside. So after I'm not turning it inside, I'm also going to pin the other side of the band to the fabric and took it back to the machine to stitch it. So guys, after I'm not stitching it, this is what it's looking like. I also went ahead, I tacked the hook and eye on the waistband, and this is what it's going to look like. So I also went ahead, I fold in the allowance inside, and I use the gum to hold it together. And that is how to draft and sew this beautiful high-waisted shirt. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and learned something new. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel for more pattern drafting and sewing tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.